Rich, did you start the recording? Okay, great. This event is being recorded, so you can see it later if you want to see it again. Okay, good evening. I'm so glad all of you have joined us for Zero Waste Living Simplified with Julie Fathy. I've seen this talk before, maybe some of you have also, and you'll know that you're in for a real treat. Julie has so many great tips that you can take away and use in your everyday life, and just beautiful photographs. I just love watching all her photographs. My name's Ann Reddy. I am the chair of the Earth Day Committee, and tonight's talk is the third in a series of talks we're holding from January through April, and it all culminates on April 25th here in Bozeman when we hold our annual Earth Day Festival at the fairgrounds, and we also have an Earth Day fun run that day too. So if you'd like to watch a recording of a past event, if you missed the really great event, Ted Turner and Friends in January, or Solar Power for Cows and Crops, no worries. You can just go onto our website and watch the recording. So before I invite Julie up to the stage, I'd just like to take a moment for a few thank yous. Our whole series of events is free to the community only because of the very generous support from our businesses and organizations in our community that sponsor this. So I would like to thank our fiscal sponsor, which is Greater Gallatin United Way, and our premier sponsors for the whole series, Toyota of Bozeman, Bozeman Green Build, Yellowstonian, which is a fantastic, wonderful online magazine that deals with issues concerning wildlife and other issues about the greater Yellowstone ecosystem, and Montana Parent Magazine. And of course, I wanted to thank all of our volunteers that make all this happen. Some of them are here tonight, so thank you very much for all your help. I just wanted to say that I will invite, whoops, sorry, wrong one. I will invite Julie up to the microphone in just 2 minutes, but first I just wanted to let you know that we will be having a question and answer period after she is done with her presentation. So if you're in the live audience here in the Bozeman Library, then just raise your hand and I'll come around with the microphone, because we actually have quite a few people joining us online to watch the live stream also. And then if you speak into the microphone, they can hear what your question is at home online. And if you are joining us online, welcome. So glad you're joining us. And if you want to ask a question, just go look at the bottom of your computer, and there's a Q&A. Click on that. A box will pop up. Type in your question, and then Rich will read the question to Julie so she can answer your question. Okay, so let me see if I can do this. Oh, it worked. Okay. Now it's time to introduce Julie and bring her up to the stage. I just wanted to let you know a little bit about Julie. She is a mother of 3, and she lives here with her husband and youngest child in the mountains near Bozeman, Montana. And since 2004, she has co-owned and operated a nutrition consulting company. Julie is a certified naturalist and a devoted advocate for local food systems and a zero waste movement. She finds joy in time spent in the wilderness. I think she just said she just hiked Mount Baldy today. So, and then she likes cooking from scratch and tending to homemaking projects and getting lost in a good book. So if you just help me welcome Julie to the stage, I'll turn it over to her.
Thank you so much for coming. First, I want to just acknowledge Ann, who has been the chair of the Gallatin Valley Earth Day for 7 years. And she does an amazing job bringing environmental programming and awareness to our community. And Ann reminds us that we need to celebrate Earth Day, not just one day of the year, but every day. So thank you, Ann. And we were also talking earlier, and I think if if we're both not mistaken, this is the third time I've spoken and been invited back. So I guess I must be doing something right. So welcome. Yeah, thanks again for coming. My journey started really, the seeds were sowed when I was a kid, and I grew up here in Bozeman. And but it was really about 20 years ago when I decided to consciously take on reducing my household waste. And at the time, I lived in Denver. I was a single mom to 2 children, and I had just started a new business and worked outside of the home. And going forward, I remarried, and my husband and I have a 12-year-old son who's here in the audience. And my older kids have moved out of the house, and we live outside of town. So how my zero waste life looked at the beginning looks very different than how it looks now. And I think that's important, just so you have some context to know that, a lot of these ideas may not resonate, some may. Hopefully you'll go home with some inspiration. And it does take time, and it has taken me a long time. I've had a lot of successes, but I've also had some failures, and I feel like it's a combination of I have seasons of my life where things are going well, and then there are others where I have to kind of do a reset. So have some grace for yourself. My zero waste life is really grounded in a philosophy of living and how the values that are really important to me. And that I just wanted to start with those principles or values. And the first one is natural living, and it is being very grounded in nature. And I have just such a strong just love for our planet, and it's really important to me to align my lifestyle with that, honoring the earth. So that would be, the first and foremost principle of my zero waste life. Second is simple living, and through the years, I've just really gotten clear on what I value, what brings value into my life, and have worked very hard on getting rid of the excess. And that is, excess stuff, but it's also, decluttering our minds and our digital life and everything. And it helps create the space that we need to pursue some of these things. Third is slow living. And it's not just taking things slow. Like I said, this has been a really slow process for me, but it is also, a big part of it is being a slow consumer. And it's really having a philosophy of how you spend your time and your money. And just putting a stop and reflecting on really, do you need this or do you need that? Can you eliminate some things in your life, or can you just slow down before you add more into your life? And then fourth is skillful living. And this has been really important, just to learn some skills and to practice them in order to reduce waste. And finally, the fifth is local living. And it is just being here tonight. This is what I'm talking about. It is supporting our local communities. It is supporting our local farms. This is our farm. It's not literally my farm, but it's one of the farms that we love and support. And it is also supporting local businesses. And that actually plays a big part in my zero waste life. I'm gonna take you through a few areas in my home, and starting with the kitchen, the bathroom, the wardrobe, office, and I don't necessarily mean a physical office, but the things that you think about, running your home finances and stuff like that. Cleaning, and we'll end with something fun and end with celebrations. If I could recommend any skill to reduce your waste, it would be to cook, to learn how to cook. And I think the most waste probably comes out of people's kitchens. And so that is the number one skill I would recommend. And if cooking seems overwhelming to you or intimidating, these are just a few of the things that I recommend to help reduce your waste in the kitchen and become a more skilled cook. And this is, I'm talking about scratch cooking, like cooking with your whole foods and eliminating your ultra processed foods and packaged foods. So number one is learning the fundamentals of cooking. Again, using whole, local, seasonal ingredients. Stocking your pantry is a big part in having the ingredients available. And then what I think really has helped me is following a 4-point formula, a 4-part meal formula. So I never meal plan, and the reason being is because I never know what local foods are going to be coming into my kitchen, because we get a lot from our farm. And so I just have to cook with what I have on hand. And so a 4-part meal formula is having a base, your rice, your pasta, your potatoes, adding a protein, whether it's beans, fish, meat, or eggs. And then your vegetable is the 3rd part. And the 4th part is an add-on. And that could be, grated cheese. It could be chopped herbs or nuts, also dressings, those types of things. And I'll be giving an example of that a little bit later. And then obviously using up the food that you have, so we can avoid food waste. So that's a big part of it. And then the final tip is putting food up. And that both keeps food from being wasted, but it also gives you the ability to have some convenience food, so you're not relying so much on packaged foods at the grocery store. I'm going to share a little bit about where I source my ingredients and how I'm able to avoid a whole lot of waste with how I source it. So I do get most of our vegetables from local farms through a CSA, which is community supported agriculture, also from farmers markets, and even at our local grocery stores do a good job labeling local produce. For milk and eggs, I also get directly from farms. And the beautiful thing about this is the milk comes in glass jars that are reusable, and egg cartons that I also send back to the farm to be reused over and over. So it's a wonderful way to keep the money in the community and to eliminate that waste. I do a little bit of gardening, and not a lot, but I do some, and mostly perennials, but in addition to that, some herbs and garlic, things like that. So that's another way to have fresh food that's local, that there's zero waste. And then I love to forage for vegetables as well, or for foods as well. So berries and plants that I use for teas and medicinal purposes. And my husband hunts, so we get, and then I grocery shop as well. And at the grocery store, I tend to get a lot of things in the bulk section. You can see me here filling a jar. I also, shop kind of the perimeter of the grocery store. So, the center is where you have your packaged ultra-processed foods. So if you're shopping the perimeter, you're going to avoid a lot of that waste. And one way to eliminate waste is actually bringing the right tools to the grocery store. Your reusable grocery bags, your reusable produce bags, and then I take jars. And you saw me filling a jar. And I would say this I think probably feels intimidating to a lot of people. And I don't think it needs to be. The one thing that works for me is we have a basket that's flat bottom, and I put the jars in it, so it's really easy to carry them to the store. I don't really worry about breakage. I don't know if I've ever broken a jar, to be quite honest. And when you get to the store, it's really easy. You weigh and the co-op is amazing. They have an amazing setup. I'm not sure about the other grocery stores that have bulk sections because I do most of mine at the co-op, but they make it so easy. You get the tear weight on the jar, you weight it first, you fill it, and then you put your PLU number. It's a great way to shop. And then I also sometimes buy certain foods in bulk quantities, like rice, for example. We eat a lot of rice in our house. And so I buy rice in 25-pound bags. And that is less expensive, actually, than filling my jar at the co-op, but it still is less waste than buying individual packages. This is just an image of my spice drawer. So I fill spices also and certain herbs that I don't grow at the co-op. And I share this because, one, so you can see that zero waste is actually quite beautiful. But I also, I had this idea of doing a spice drawer like this for quite a long time, but I didn't want to buy new jars. And so I thrift shopped most of these jars. And it took me a while before I had enough. And so that's where, the slowness comes in. Sometimes we have ideas, and rather than going out and buying something new or just jumping into something, take your time. And then the labels were just cardstock that I had on hand and cut out. So use what you have too. Coffee is a really easy way, actually an easy thing to go zero waste. Again, I'm getting coffee at the bulk section in my jar, and we use a stovetop espresso maker, but there are so many different options for making zero waste coffee. It's basically anything that has no filter or reusable filter. Same with tea. I either grow and dry my own. This was actually some homegrown tea, and I just brew loose leaf tea. But I also sometimes buy the tea at the co-op and fill my jar. So those are really easy tips. And then when you do need to buy something with some packaging, sometimes it's just choosing better packaging. So this is just an example. Rather than buying pre-grated cheese, you buy your block of cheese where, there's less plastic, and grate it yourself. And just a tip, what I do actually is usually if I need a lot of grated cheese, I'll use my food processor and just put it in a jar. And then I have that convenience, but without the expense and without the waste. One thing that I've challenged myself, and I'm still working on this, is to make homemade condiments. And this is mayonnaise that I then turned into ranch dip. And the ranch dip, I used mayonnaise, and I also used homemade yogurt from my milk that I get from the farm, and then I strained it so it was thick like a Greek yogurt. Now, it does take more effort to do all these things, but I think it's worth it. You're going to eat much healthier. It's actually really rewarding and delicious, and you learn skills, and maybe you can't do it all the time, but it's fun to challenge yourself to try new things and to experience these types of things. This is an example of a 4-part meal that I was talking about that makes my meal planning and just meal preparation so easy. We had a bunch of leftover rice in our fridge, and then I had some local vegetables, some purple cabbage, some pea shoots. I had in my pantry garlic and onions, and ginger, and I threw together, and then I had eggs. That was the protein. And so I threw together this stir fry, and what you can't see is the add-on was a carrot ferment that I made. That not only added beautiful color, but added some amazing flavor. So the 4-part meal prep makes cooking so easy. You don't have to meal plan. You just have to have a stocked pantry. Okay, so going on to like food, putting food up, food preparation, make the freezer your friend. This is just some tomato paste. I had taken maybe a tablespoon out of the jar, and then the rest I freezed in silicone molds and then popped those out into a jar and put those in the freezer. And so again, it is preventing food from going into the trash because, inevitably, if it just sat in the fridge, it would probably get moldy and I'd end up throwing it out. But this way I was able to save that. And also it's so convenient now. I just, it's in a tablespoon measurement approximately, and I can pop one out at a time. So I freeze all kinds of things, and I freeze in jars. And the trick with jars is if you have like liquids, like if you're freezing a soup, for example, that you made a lot and you just want to put some in the freezer for another day, choose wide mouth jars. And then if it has a shoulder on it, like a wide mouth quart jar that has a shoulder, make sure you fill it below that shoulder so that there's room to expand, and you won't experience jars breaking in the freezer. Another preservation method is drying herbs, and these are in all sorts of plants, but or even drying like fruit, or so I do some drying. And my favorite way to dry herbs actually is when I go thrift store shopping, I look for baskets and flat baskets. I bring them home and wash them and let them dry. And then the herbs, I just lay them on that. And that's my favorite way and put them in a dark closet. And then I preserve the bounty. This is a carrot ferment, and I love fermenting. It is easy. It is low to no energy, and it is super healthy for you. And I won't spend time right now talking about ferments, but if anybody has questions, if it feels overwhelming, it's not. It's actually a really easy process. You just kind of have to get over the hump of the intimidation of it. I also do some canning of both water bath and pressure canning, and this is my convenience food. These are some pinto beans that I pressure canned. I also pressure can broth. I save like chicken carcasses and, vegetables that like onion skins, the outer layers. I put those in the freezer and save those and all sorts of things and make a really nice broth. And I'll pressure can that, and I have that convenience. And I'm, again, avoiding the waste of buying packaged broth, also like pickles and jams and jellies. And, the lids at some point do get either recycled or thrown out. So there is some waste, but it's far less than if you're buying those foods in the grocery store. And then, of course, composting is a great way to keep our food from being thrown in the trash. And for food storage, my favorite is just glass storage. And I love to, when I do go to thrift stores, I love to look for vintage Pyrex in particular with glass lids. The old glass doesn't chip like the new glass. And then there's also no plastic. I also love to use jars. I sometimes use the wax, the beeswax wraps. Or you can just use plates and bowls. Like if you cut a melon in half, just put it on the plate and put it in the fridge, or a bowl, put a plate on top of that. So it's pretty easy to avoid a lot of plastic bags and like plastic wrap. And sometimes we have to look to the past and see how they did it. I mean, plastic has only been in existence for a little over 100 years. And so our ancestors used to store food and do things without plastic. And this is just one example. This is a vintage enamelware vegetable crisper. And it is better than anything I've ever used for keeping vegetables crisp and beautiful. So sometimes just think about like how your great-grandparents did things maybe. And we're a paperless kitchen by using cloth napkins and cloth towels and dish rags. And I'm going to just leave you with two more silly little tips before we leave. One is I always wear an apron when I'm in the kitchen. This helps protect my clothing so our clothes aren't in the landfill because there's a big stain on the front. So I love wearing aprons. And then finally, I think we need to go back to using cookbooks rather than our phones for looking for recipes. And I've kind of started making this change, and I don't have a lot of cookbooks, but I do recommend having like a comprehensive cookbook like The Joy of Cooking or something like that, rather than looking up like, you know, how much water do I need for a cup of quinoa, or, you know, some of those basic things, rather than looking online. And the reason being is we're being distracted by our phones, and we're being, you know, influenced and marketed to. And, you know, I think it's a great way to put it down and keep our focus on what we're doing. So, yes, and now we're going to move to the bathroom. And I actually think the bathroom is one of the easiest places to reduce your waste. And my approach is actually to just eliminate a whole lot of products. So keep it really, really simple, and question everything. Over the years, I've done a lot of DIY projects. I've made, you know, everything from deodorant and toothpaste, and even tried makeup. And the one thing that has stuck through all the years is making homemade salve, and like a body salve. And this is the one product I use for my hands, my face, and everything. And it is so easy. It's 2 ingredients. And it didn't start out that way. When I started out making body salve or lotion, it was 10 ingredients and a 10-step process. And through the years, I kept cutting and cutting and cutting. And so this is my recipe. It's just 1 1/4 cups my favorite oil is avocado oil. And I buy avocado oil in a gallon jug. And because I also use it to make my mayonnaise. And so it's cost effective. Again, and then 1 ounce of beeswax, and you can get beeswax, you can see in the picture, that's like 1 ounce. And you can play with those ratios, but that's what I like to do. And you just heat the oil and the wax in a double boiler until the wax melts, stir it, and pour it in a jar, a repurposed jar, not new jars. And it saves so much money. You have 1 product. So I love that. And then a lot of times it's just choosing products for better packaging or better materials. And I also encourage like the low-hanging fruit. And to me, like if you've used up all the toothbrushes in your house and you need to buy a new toothbrush, a bamboo toothbrush is pretty low-hanging. That's easy to do. So some of these choices don't take effort. And then in the shower, we use a bar soap to avoid the plastic and the you know, the using the packaging of like a liquid soap. And then I've tried all kinds of shampoos, from no poo to shampoo bars. And I've ended with a product that actually is made in Montana, and I order directly from the company. Just a little tip, if the company, like, they don't even have it on their website, but I called them up and they were able to do a special order. So just ask. Sometimes it's a matter of asking. And then I decant it into some repurposed shampoo and conditioner bottles. And a lot of my decisions are actually, back up. What I always try to do is reduce as many decisions as I possibly can. And so a lot of my life, I find something that I like and I buy it on repeat, so that there's not that decision making. It frees up a lot of space in my mind. And then I also, on the things that I'm buying or using over and over, I'll buy in bulk. And so this is just a basket that has, I've put in the one bag, I have a whole bunch of toothbrushes, and another, the dental floss we like, and the soap that we like. And it just is a system that works for me, that makes life a lot easier. I also am trying to just like get rid of plastic throughout my home. And one of my favorite things to thrift are baskets. And I think it's just like a beautiful way to store things. And then finally, I wanted to leave you with a few resources. So for toilet paper, this is one of those that I'm not having to make a decision, or I'm running out and I'm having to run to the store, or I'm deciding, okay, well, which brand should I buy? What's going to be the best? I just buy the same one. It's a subscription. It comes, as I schedule it. And so that helps. It's plastic free. It's 100% recycled. And I'm not putting a plug in for this company necessarily. Do your own research. But the nrdc.org puts out a report every year on, it's called The Issue with Tissue. You have to look it up when you go to their website. And they rate toilet paper. And from A to F, and you can look up and see how your toilet paper is doing. The Environmental Working Group, EWG.org, they rate like personal care and I think household cleaning goods and stuff like that. And so they're a really great organization to go and look and see, like, if you are buying shampoo, like, how does that rate? And then we are really lucky here in Bozeman to have a zero waste store called the Refillery Supply Company. It's a really cute little store. You can take your jars and refill them with shampoos, conditioners. They have all sorts of stuff. So check them out. My approach with my wardrobe, now keep in mind, I work from home and I don't have to dress up for work. I have a very casual life, so I don't need a lot of clothes, and I have a really small wardrobe. So that, and I do that on purpose. Like I choose to have a small wardrobe. The other thing that's really important to me is natural fibers. And there are some exceptions, my outer gear and some of my athletic gear, but most of my wardrobe, I really work to look for 100% natural fibers, your cottons, your linens, your wools, and, hemp, silk, things like that. So that's important to me. And then also looking for high quality workmanship. And if you're on this image, these are just a few pieces from my wardrobe. You can see, like, on the two pieces on the left, that the seams are serged, and there are raw edges that have been serged. The two on the right are called flat felled seams, and you can see that probably the ones on the right are going to be longer lasting. And I think even if you're buying secondhand, it's we should be looking for higher quality. Our clothes are going to last longer. We're going to be able to keep them longer. So, and there's all sorts of, this is just one example to look at for high quality clothes. And then keep your clothes, like just wear them out, but also mend them and take care of them. And sometimes it means picking companies that actually will do repairs. This was a hand-me-down jacket that we received from my son, and it came to us with a broken zipper. I contacted LL Bean, sent it back, and they repaired the zipper. Patagonia does an amazing job as well. So if you aren't able to repair it, maybe find someone else who can. And then wash your clothes in cold, hang them to dry, and they will last a lot longer. Let's talk about cleaning our homes. There's only like 4 things, or maybe 5 ingredients that I clean my home with. It's white distilled vinegar. I get it in a gallon jug. Natural dish soap, and I buy that in a 5-gallon. It actually comes in like a 5-gallon plastic bladder that is in a cardboard box. That may not make sense for you, but for our family, it does. That may be too much. And then baking soda that I buy in quantity as well, or in bulk. And then for the dishwasher and the laundry, I use powdered detergents that I buy in bulk. And powdered over liquid. Liquid comes in plastic bottles, and it's, you're shipping a lot more. So, and then choosing natural tools. So the only spray I have in my home is half water, half vinegar, and a little drop of natural dish soap, and I clean hard surfaces with that, except for natural stone and concrete. And with that, I just use water or maybe a little dish soap. Baking soda, I put in a thrifted Parmesan shaker, and that gives a little bit extra scrubbing powder. And then of course, a compostable sponge and some cotton rags. And my favorite rags to use are actually old washcloths. And if you don't have any laying around your house, they're abundant at the thrift stores. And then this was a little tip a friend of mine gave me. If you don't like bar soap at your sinks, because it can get messy, I know it can in our house, use maybe your natural dish soap and just put it at all the sinks. And that's what we do in our house. I buy the dish soap, like I said, in a 5-gallon bag, and then I dispense it into our hand pumps. But the beautiful thing about that is I'm not lugging any cleaning equipment around the house. I just take a sponge and I can go and wipe my sinks out and clean the counters just from the soap that I have at the sink anyway. And choosing like your natural, your sponges. My favorite dish sponge is a loofah. And then I also have like a wooden handled natural bristle brush that I use at the sink. So choose those. And another point here is you can see my soap. I've put it into this is a repurposed vinegar bottle. And I love reusing everyday objects and just like making life a little bit more beautiful. I think that there's a lot that's not beautiful in this world right now, and every opportunity that you have to bring that beauty into your home, I think it's really important. This is our laundry detergent that I think it comes in about a 40-pound bag. Again, I dispense it into a smaller container so it's easy to use. All right, now office. And again, this is not necessarily a physical office in your home, but I'm just going to start by talking about junk mail, and because that can be a lot of waste. We can get a lot of trash from that. My tips here are opt out of every company that you can, and opt out online, call them up and ask them to be, for you to be removed from their mailing list. There's a great free organization called catalogchoice.org, and you can enter catalog, not just catalogs, but you can just put in company names, and they will remove your name from the list. DMA Choice is, that one is a $2 service. I think it's $2, but it's worthwhile. And I think they also remove you, if I remember correctly, from mailing lists and databases. And then there's optoutprescreen.com, and they remove you from like credit card offers and insurance. And they do ask for your social security number, but it is a safe and legitimate organization. So I recommend that. And then obviously for any of your billing, go paperless, and so that you're not having that paper waste. And this is what I do with printer paper. Rather than recycling it, I actually shred it and put it in my compost. And I only do that with, I don't use anything that is highly colored or has any sort of plastic or coating on it. So this is mostly printer plate paper that I am composting. And rather than going out and buying new pens or papers, gather up what you have and use them up. And, just having that mindset of using up what you have. And I hope that you all go home tonight and don't have any ideas like, I need to go buy something to start this zero waste lifestyle. That is not the message I want. I want you to go home and use up what you have. And once you've used it up, then you can kind of think about, what options make sense. And, with children's or adult art supplies, use up what you have. But if you are buying new, look for some plastic-free options. And finally, we're going to end on celebrations. And because it's fun, right? And there's no reason why our celebrations shouldn't also be zero waste. And I would love to encourage all of you to decorate with what you have, but also decorate for celebrations using foraged materials, flowers, and food from our local farms. I mean, how beautiful is that, to just having squash on your table for a centerpiece. Make things. This was a party that I had where I just had thrifted fabric that I made a bunting and strung it through trees, and it was free or nearly free. And then I dressed the tables with thrifted tablecloths and thrifted napkins. And the best part about it is after the party, I donated all of that back because I knew I wouldn't use it. I didn't have a need for it long term, and I didn't need to store it in my home. So I love keeping things in circulation for others to use if I'm not using it. And if you do a lot of entertaining, avoid your disposables. And I do that by, my husband and I do a lot of outdoor entertaining. And we have stainless steel pie plates is what they are. And you can get them at a restaurant supply store, and stainless cups, and then some thrifted silverware. And it's just a great way to avoid it. Saves you a lot of money in the long run if you do entertain a lot. And yes, and then of course follow all your zero waste cooking tools or tips that I already shared in the food that you serve. And if there are presents involved, I don't think there's any reason to buy new paper. I think wrapping paper and ribbon, use what you have, brown paper that comes in packages. If you have some old road maps that would get thrown out anyway, that makes a lovely wrapping paper. There's all sorts of ideas, and reuse and repurpose what already comes into your home. And same with gifting. I think it's really lovely to keep those values that I talked about at the beginning in your gifting, and keeping it simple, aligning it with, buying natural things, handmade things, and keeping it zero waste. And this was just a Easter many years ago, but a little homemade rabbit and a bag of jelly beans from the bulk section, and you can see what else there. And then finally, one of the things that my family has done in more recent years is we've started celebrating the solstices and the equinoxes. And it's not every season and every year, but I really encourage all of you to bring that into your lives and to ground your celebrations back into our natural world. What you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of difference you want to make. This is from the late, great Jane Goodall. Thank you all for the difference you're making, and thank you all for coming. I would love to take any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was another great talk. I have so many things to take away. So once again, I just raise your hand if you're in the audience here at the Bozeman Library, and I'll bring the microphone to you. And if you're online, once again, type in your questions, and we'll take breaks and have your questions read to Julie by Rich. Okay, so hands up. Here we go.
I just wanted to know what the dish soap was that you get in the big bladders.
What kind it is, what brand?
I guess,
Is that what you mean?
yeah. Is that, can I
So
ask?
I get some of my bulk items from a company called Azure Standard. I don't know if you're familiar. It's like a natural foods company. I think they're based out of Washington, and they send trucks across the country, and you go to a pickup spot. You order it, and you go to a pickup spot once a month. So that's where I do source a lot of bigger bulk items like laundry detergent and dish soap.
Okay, next.
Hi.
Hi.
When you said that you put up food, you said that you, pressure.
Pressure can.
Okay, so are you taking the product and putting it into the jars and then putting them into pressure cookers? How are you doing?
No, so there's two types of canning. There's your water bath canning, and that's what you do for jams and jellies, and I think you can do tomatoes as well. Pressure canning, you have to have a specific pressure canner. It's not a pressure cooker, it's a canner. And it seems intimidating, but in a lot of ways, it can be actually way easier than water-based canning, I think. So, yes.
Okay, thanks.
For
We do have a number of questions online, so I'll let Rich take over.
Yeah, we've had a couple comments actually, rather than questions. One was you mentioned Pyrex glassware and the old stuff is better than new stuff. Someone pointed out that you can tell the difference because the old stuff has Pyrex written in capital letters and the new stuff has Pyrex written in lowercase letters.
Wow, and I did not know that. That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing.
The second comment was that was a recommendation for a bidet. And if you use a bidet and then make some cloth wipes for drying that you can throw in the laundry, then you don't have to use toilet paper at all.
I love it. Thank you.
Is that it, Rich, for online for now? I guess so.
One more. Can you explain how you like to use baking soda for cleaning?
Okay, so baking soda I use in the toilet, and I'll just shake a bunch. And then I actually put a little glug of vinegar, and that makes the baking soda react. And then I scrub it. You can also use it in a sink or in the bathtub, and it just gives you a little bit more scrubbing powder or power. I actually prefer just using a sponge in the dish soap, but when you have like a soap residue or soap scum on a sink or a tub, it gives you a little bit better power.
Thank you. We have another question here in the audience. Just 1 second here.
Where's the refillery store?
It is by Tree Line Coffee
Oh, okay.
on, what is it?
My neighborhood,
Okay.
sort of. I could also put in a plug for, we use bamboo toilet paper, and I order it from the Real Company, REEL.
Make
And
sure you check NRDC first.
okay,
Because
I will. I think they do have a good rating, but
okay, because it's interesting. They a couple of years ago, I checked out the company that I get my toilet papers. Who gives a crap? And really fun, huh? But I get the 100% recycled. But I looked up their bamboo, and it had like a D rating. I just recently looked up, and it had been brought up to a B rating. So I don't know if it's because bamboo is a tree, it doesn't rate as well as like 100% recycled, but sometimes we have to settle too. So if you like bamboo and it's, it gets a good rating, and maybe it's not perfect, but sometimes we can't check all the boxes. And so I think it's okay to settle.
I think a while ago, because I've been using it for a couple of years, but I checked out on because I also spend time in New Hampshire, and we don't have that kind of plumbing. We've got the septic system, and it got an okay for that.
Oh yes,
but I like them. They don't bug you with emails or anything like that. I find it's a good company, but I will check on NRTC.
It's estimated as more than 40% of all the plastic trash that we have to deal with comes from plastic packaging. And some things are never available in an alternative, such as fresh berries. And one of my pet peeves is, blueberries, strawberries, blackberries, et cetera, come in plastic clamshells. And even though if you turn it over and it says number 1 on it, we're supposed to be able to recycle 1 or 2. That's not true, because it depends on what the plastic producers put on there, and it's different than what we're allowed to recycle here. How do you deal with that? And is there any other good alternatives for picking up fresh berries, especially in the winter when it's not available in our gardens?
Well, so with berries, we pretty much eat them seasonally or frozen. So freezing, like we pick a lot of sarvis berries, wild sarvis, June berries. They go by a lot of names, but we freeze a lot of those. Or sometimes I will actually buy frozen berries in bulk, like in, I don't even know, 30-pound quantities. So it's one and I get that from Azure Standard, the company I was talking about. But I try not to buy the plastic clamshells. And I also believe, we should be eating seasonally. And maybe we save those for special occasions and not have it a daily or a weekly thing that we have on our grocery list.
Thank you, Julie. Okay, another question.
I noticed in your composting picture that you had orange peels or some kind of fruit. Do you actually compost that? Because I was told not to compost.
I compost
citrus.
everything, but I'm also not a very good composter. So, and I'm not a big gardener. So for me, the compost is a way to just keep food waste out of the trash. I will, I use it, but it's not like wonderful compost, to be quite honest. And that's really, the reason I do it is just to divert that food waste. And it does add some nourishment back into the soil, but that's a very good point. There's a lot of things I probably add to the compost that I shouldn't.
Or maybe you don't put it in your garden, you throw it somewhere else in the yard.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Okay, we have another question in the audience here.
It's not really a question. I just wanted to answer the refillery. It's in the old Misco Mill building,
Yes.
and it is across from the Tree Line Coffee place. It's on Cottonwood. And she is wonderful. It's a young woman that has started her own business. And you bring your own container. So she's got shampoo, she's got liquid laundry detergent. And what I like that she has a lot of beeswax and all kinds of a variety of things, is the dishwasher tabs. And they're not coated in plastic.
Nice.
And they don't dissolve. I keep them in a container under the sink, and they're little squares or cubes without any plastic wrap, which is really handy.
That's so
And
nice.
I just want to put a plug in for reusable bags too. That is some way to kind of keep. There are free reusable bags that are being sewn all over this town, and they're all hanging on boomerang bag stands in several stores, and more coming up. And there's also a place called Fat Frog, I think it's called, and it's near Wild Crumb, and they're a year-round farmers market. And another young woman who has established that. And it just started a couple weeks ago. And so she has local farmer produce that she sells in her store, just like the farmer's market, and it'll be year round. It's not every single day, but it's
That's great. I was
Great
not
resource.
familiar. And it's called
I think it's called Fat Toad.
Fat Toad.
Yeah,
Okay.
Fat Toad or Fat Frog or something.
Okay. We'll look that up. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think we have one more question online, and then we might take, if you have one more pressing question in the audience here, we'll take it, but we promised the library we'll be out by 8, so we have to wrap it up pretty soon here.
Yeah, we have one more suggestion. Was a person noted that she was getting tired of buying so many yogurt containers and throwing them out. And so she finally took the leap and started making yogurt in her Instant Pot and found it to be very easy and much faster and easier than doing it in glass jars.
That's great. I know a lot of people who do that. I've never done it, but I think making yogurt is actually really easy. It's you just heat the milk to this is what I do, heat it to 180, let it cool to about 110 roughly. And then I use quart jars. I just put like a tablespoon of yogurt from a previous batch, pour the milk in, and then I put mine in a cooler, and then add just like warm tap water. So you don't want it too hot, but you want it warm enough, and just let it sit for the day or overnight, depending on when you start it. And it comes out thick and beautiful, and it saves so much plastic from,
Great, thanks. Such great tips. Do we have one last question, anyone, or are we? No? Okay, great. Well,
thank
can
you
we
so much. Yeah.
can we thank Julie one more time?
Thank
Um,
you.
Always fun to have you here, Julie. And I just have a short little wrap up here. Let's see, sorry. There we go. Anyway, oops. Let's go. There we go. I wanted to invite you to our next event, which is also at the Bozeman Public Library here on Wednesday, March 25th, and it's also on Zoom. So it's, again, Julia Ryder is a nurse here from Bozeman, and she also works with, with Montana Health Professionals for a Healthy Climate. There, I got it right. So another great talk. You can go on our website and sign up for the online talk if you want, or else you can come here in person. And I also wanted to tell all of you joining us online that you will be receiving another email from Zoom. And in that email will be a link to the recording of this talk. So if you missed some points, you want to watch it again, or you want to share it with a friend, you will be getting a link to that recording there. If for those of you who are joining us here in the library, we will put up within the next day or two on our website, Gatlin-Valley-EarthDay.org, a link to the recording. So if you want to, again, watch it again or share it, it will be available there. And I just want to invite you to our annual Earth Day Festival. If you're here in Bozeman area, it's a lot of fun. If you haven't been there before, it's Saturday, April 25th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. We have a ton of great kid activities. It's all free. There's an Earth Day magic show at 10 a.m. We have other kids activities such as face painting, and there's a petting zoo, and there are educational games, and all kids win a prize. They can put in for a grand prize donated by our toy store, huge giant stuffed wolf or stuffed bison. For the grown-ups, we have talks on composting, water-wise workshop by the city, and a live raptor presentation at 1 o'clock. In addition to the 50 exhibits that are all very interesting, and we have live music, and we have a local foods food court that is also very delicious. And this year we've added a lot of kids' food, so the kids can stay around longer for the raptor presentation. So anyway, we invite you to join us on Saturday, April 25th at 9 a.m. is the Bozeman cleanup. So you can pick up your kits and go do a little cleanup and then come back to the festival. And also we have our annual Earth Day fun run that starts from the fairgrounds there. And it always raises money for a worthy charity. So check those out. You can find out more information again at GallatinValleyEarthDay.org. So thanks again for all of you for joining us, and have a good evening. Good night.